All right, and welcome everybody. I am Leslie Johnson. I'm the Animal Manure Management Extension Educator with the University of Nebraska and Nebraska Extension. We have for our Soil Health Nexus Digital Cafe along with us, I have Ann Nardi. Christina Carell will be back shortly. We had a couple of technical difficulties with this, if you didn't notice with the registration, and so trying to make sure everybody is in the right place and hopefully can do so before our wonderful speaker gets started. So a little bit about the Soil Health Nexus, assuming I can convince my slides to move it forward. Okay, had to hit OK first. All right, the Soil Health Nexus is a university-led team that is dedicated to increasing access to research-based soil health knowledge and extension and resources. The team does include representatives from all 12 North Central region states. So, but we do have folks that participate from places outside of that North Central region as well. The Digital Cafe series, how this is going to kind of work is we will have a presentation with a speaker. We'll have a Q&A time a little bit with the speaker, and then we'll go into breakout rooms where you can chat about anything related to the topic we discussed today or related to soil health. And I'll explain more about that next. Well, not quite next. First, I'll introduce our speaker, who is Saurav Das, who is also with the University of Nebraska. He's a research assistant professor, actually based in the far western part of the state. We're not just in Lincoln, and neither him or I are in Lincoln, even though we have that association. And he's going to talk to us about a really cool platform that we have in Nebraska that we want to take wider at some point, and that's called the Soil Health Exchange, and he'll tell us all about it. When we get done with that presentation and the Q&A session, we'll go into these breakout rooms. You'll have the option of which breakout room you want to attend. You'll be able to choose those, and if not, we'll help get you into those. But you can talk about the impression of the topic, any current research that supports this, or how you might, in this case, how might your state use this, or the folks that you need to work with, how can they use it? And then any future topics that you might want to see presented during these soil health digital cafes. On that note, there are demographic polls that have come up. We do encourage you to fill those out. That is partially how our land grant institutions are funded, is through things that through national programs that require us to do these demographic polls. So if you could take time to respond to those, that would be wonderful. They will only come up now, so you don't need to worry about them later. So, and then I would encourage you to join us again on April 17th, where we will have Dr. Chad Penn, and I'm so excited for this topic, being the manure management person. We're going to talk about soil health and nutrient management, what it can do and what it does not do for you. Chad and I both hear occasionally, well, I'm doing great things for soil health, I no longer have to fertilize, and that is just not the case. So I encourage you to come back here in April, and we'll talk more about soil health and nutrient management and how those things work together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Saurav, who is going to be our speaker today. Looks good, Saurav.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Leslie and Annie, for the invitation. So I'm Saurav. I work as a research assistant professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and the Department of Agronomy and Horticulture. But I'm stationed at Scottsbluff, which is like 6 hours west and 400 miles to the west of the Lincoln. So I will talk about a cool online farming-focused discussion forum, which I'm trying to, run it. And we started it back in like September or you can say October, beginning of the October. It's called as a soil health exchange. It's a online platform. So I'll talk about today what is the backgrounds, why I developed this, where we are, what is the current status, and what are the collaborations we have, and how I want to see the platform go and develop in the future. What is the big idea behind all? So before moving to the, soil health exchange and why I developed it, I wanted to just talk about my philosophy of extension, what I believe. It's technically is different to everyone's, but what I believe. So most of the time, as a researcher, what I even do that we do some research and go to extension events or field events and give more or less the what about our findings of the research. That's it. We done with the extension. But I believe it's also important to understand the needs of the challenges, the needs and the challenges of the producers, stakeholders, what they have or they are facing the challenges, and which can also define the research, and it can be mutually connected to each others. And most of our research nowadays are focused on the national and international focus areas or scales, but it is at the same time it is really important to address the regional and local challenges also. So these are kind of like my philosophy behind the extension, and it's also kind of a shaped or and give me ideas behind the development of this platform. So I've been involved with the UNL, and I've been involved with a lot of extension even last 5-6 years, and I have seen myself that there's a lot of gap between our communications gap between the producers and the researchers. The research we are doing and what the producers want, there's a big barriers. At some point, either we are not able to answer what they want from us, or somehow we are not understanding, or there's a gap between the producers and the researchers. So there's interesting studies came out this year, 2020, I think last year, 2023, and they kind of summarized the results from the 20 countries across the Europe to see what is the opportunities and what are the challenges the producers face, or in exchange of the research and communications and addressing the soil challenges. And so this kind of connects with the first questions, that there's a lot of big communication gap, and idea is to how to bridge the communication gap. And second point, recently last year actually, I attended a field event organized by UNL, and there's a farmer focused panel discussions, and one producer, his name was Steve, and he mentioned very interestingly one, and which kind of stayed with me for some time, that he mentioned that if you study the demography of the people who attended the field days or extension events, you will never find the producers who manages more than 10,000 acres of lands. So my question then was like, so why what we are lacking in that? Why the big producers are not coming? And why there's a communication gap between the producers and the researcher? So I question myself. The question is a little bit tricky and complex, but the question has a two-part. One part is what I'm not providing as a researcher or educator perspective. My question is what I am not providing to the producer, that they are not interested to come to me and discuss their issues. Or from producer perspective, what they are not getting. Can I understand both the perspective in a single platform, or in a interactive manners where we both can sit together, and I can share what I know, and he can also put an input that what he wants from me, or what can help him to manage his farm more better ways. So these are the couple of gaps I identified. One is like relevance of research. Probably we are doing a lot of researches which probably not addressing the local or regional challenges, and somehow the research we are doing probably not answering what the producers wants. And accessibility of the information, probably we are publishing a lot of scientific papers, but they are more technical for the producers to understand. Probably we need an educational hub where we can put the research more in accessible languages. And probably we need a better engagement channels, traditional engagement. Let's say we have a field days, extension events. Maybe we need a lot of people spend a lot of time on internet, on social medias and other online platforms. Probably we can use the internet or online platforms to develop something which can increase the engagement between the producers and the researchers. And it should have a feedback mechanism, how we are doing, is they need more information, what they need. So with that thought, I kind of summarize all these thoughts into two questions. So first thing is that, are we addressing the challenges, current challenges or emerging challenges? or are we providing the resources needed for the adoptions of new practices, especially aligning with the change in scientific domains, right? There's a lot of precision eggs coming, new testing measurements, and economic evaluations coming. So probably we need to identify first what are the challenges producers are facing, regional or local scales, and then we need to probably expand our horizons and includes peoples from different domains like sociological, economics, engineering, computer science, statisticians, agronomy, soil science, to answer the question from multi-domain. And recently, the Soil Health Institute did an interesting study and socioeconomic evaluations of the soil health, soil health practices. If you adopt the soil health practices, is it going to help the economically? Because economic perspective is really important because it drives the adoptions and anything. So they found that 97% of the producers reported there's an increase in the crop resilience. Then 85% and corn producers especially reported there is a net increase in their income. 88% reported, or soybean growers reported there is a net income increase. And similarly, they found that $24 per acres they reduced in the operation cost. And similarly, for the soybean grower, there is $17 reduction. So economic evaluations can, catalyze the adoption. So my idea is to bring the people from different domains and different in the agricultural field, so we can answer the producer challenge from multi dimensions and different aspects. So when I started thinking about can I develop something, so I faced three questions. One is that I need to identify the problem. So initially I thought probably we need to develop something like Quora or Reddits or Twitters, where we can provide a real-time engagements with the producers. Though they can type questions, a specialist can come and answer the questions. So it will be all seamless connections. But there's some difficulties at that level. And the second one was that we need to provide a solution. So initial thought was that every month we'll get some questions, and every month we'll create or develop a blog where we'll answer the producers' questions in a more comprehensive way using whatever the published papers or current scientific knowledge we have. And third one, which goes back to the initial questions I have, that I wanted to connect the people from different domains so we can answer the question from different perspectives. And this probably led to the development of the Soil Health Exchange, the platforms what we have currently now. And we announced it back in September 27, and it's still it's in the beginning phase, and we are trying to understand a lot of technical challenges and what we want to do and how to make it more streamlined, and more of this I'll discuss. But main idea is that this is an online forums. Basically, we are hosting it through the CropWatch, CropWatch, and idea is to bridge the gap between the research extension and on the ground practices. So the four objectives the platform has currently, like bridging the research and extension, and the second is the connecting the community, researchers, specialists, producers, stakeholders. We want to bring everyone in a single platform. And the third objective is the supporting the backbone of implementation. And I'm calling the producers as the backbones because they are the end users. Whatever the practices we develop or we talk about, they're the one who are going to implement in the field. So by understanding, supporting the backbone of the implementation or the producers by understanding their needs and the challenges. And fourth one is to create a platform which can give the direct access to the specialist. So these are kind of the four objectives of the platform when I developed. And this is the primary layout which we are still working on to develop and make it more interactive. So this is the primary layout when we are trying to develop, and we ended up with this one. So there's a soil health exchange, and there's a 1 or 2 line sentences about the soil health exchange. Then there's a column where you can put your questions. Then it will ask you about the states where you are from, and then name and your email IDs or phone numbers are optionals. You can provide, you do not have to provide. And anyhow, when we publish the answers to questions, we do not use any kind of a personal information. It's for the privacy purpose. We do not share your name or anything. This is just for the communication purpose. Let's say we come up with your answers, we can share directly to you through your email ID or contact informations, but that's optional. But we want you to submit your question and submit all the relevant information as much detail you can, so it helps us in answering the questions. So this is the basic layout of the platform. So, and I named these slides the current states and miles to go, because this is just the beginning of the platforms, and there's a lot of challenges and there's a lot of questions we are facing also, and we are figuring out how to eventually answer all those questions. So current state of the platforms, we received almost 9 questions so far, and we answered 4 questions. And one was, first questions we received the compaction issues, and the question was, can we solve using some natural solution? Then one producer, he did terracing in his plot farm, and then he started seeing that yield is reducing. And we had a couple of wildfire issues in Nebraska, and producers were facing the yield reduction after the wildfires. And then there was an issues and waterlogging issues. So this platform gives, and now if you see this, all these questions and answer, this platform now provided a direct access for the producers to share their challenges. Probably when we talk about, we are doing research on carbons and other things, but maybe we're not realizing that on the ground level, what the producers are facing the challenges. So this platform give them a way to share their challenges, and they came to us, we tried to answer them and provide solution to their questions. And but we face, as I told them, miles to go, there's challenges. So a lot of specialists, they have their already fixed schedule. They have a lot of classes, research responsibilities and all. On top of that, this is kind of like an extra responsibilities, right? So timing is becoming a little bit, timely answering is becoming a little bit issues or challenges. So we are trying to, develop a big pool of specialists so that we can streamline the process. And we are trying to identify experts from different domains of agricultural science, so that we can also answer or synthesize our answers in a comprehensive manners from different directions and domains. So we did some statistics analysis, but this is still last December 31st, after I think 3 months we did. And we are planning to do next April another kind of statistical analysis or engagement, getting how much analytics, how much people are engaging. So announcement got around like 3,000 views and engagements. And then the compactions, wildfires, and the terrace challenges questions got around 500 clicks and 500 hits. And then after those 3 answers, we published one. And this, we didn't analyze it till yet, the Google Analytics, but we posted this in the Twitters. We got around 8,919 impression. Out of that, you can see, so this is 8,919 is more or less the views, the people go and views, but there was 448 people who kind of clicked this and went through properly, and 280 people kind of click the link and go and see the details and all. So we are seeing a lot of people are trying to engage with the platform also, and this is really exciting. How a lot of people reached out to me also. One first is, let's say, one specialist, one professor from the Ohio States. They reached out to me. They find out this platform is really interesting, and they wanted to talk to me, the ASA meeting. And then recently, another faculty reached out to me, LinkedIn, that they are thinking about developing something similar in their states, and they want to get idea how to develop this. And we also get a couple of newspaper also focus. There's a lot of newspapers also published about this platform, and it's really exciting to see just the beginning. It's like a 5 or 6 month of the platform, and how it's gaining the attention also. This is the announcement article, and as I told that last in December, we did some Google Analytics, and we tried to find out what are the most places from where the people have viewed or have accessed these platforms. And you can see it's been accessed through a lot of different places in the United States: San Antonio, Des Moines, Cheyenne, Washington. So it has reached out a lot of states and a lot of places in the United States. So moving forward, I have a kind of a little bit, I have thoughts about, moving forward. I wanted to, at the same time, when a producers gives a question, put the questions in the platform, there should be an interactive map which counts how many problems we have solved from each county and what is the major challenges, because we can tag each questions with some kind of a tagline. Let's say this is a compaction issues, this is salinity issues, or this is wildfire issues, and we can tag and we can categorize the estates or counties. What are the major challenges in this region, in that regions, and how many challenges we have solved using this platform. And then if we want to expand it, that's another plan I have. We can expand it through different states, and we can call it, soil health exchange for the Nebraska chapters, Kansas chapters, or South Dakota chapters. We can expand and we can solve or address the regional challenges or the local issues that states or that place is facing. And I also have a plan to, put some educational material, basic foundational education materials, along with the question and answer, because a lot of time, even I want to look for, something, what does the PLFA means? A lot of producers are, they're adopting the soil health practices. They are going the soil health test. They're measuring different indicators, but they're still kind of in a point position that they don't understand a lot of things. So we can make some basic foundational basic educational materials, which we can also upload to the platforms where the producer can access. And I always believe the numbers are the biggest, big things in everywhere. If you can provide concepts or anything with the numbers, that attract a lot of people. So if you can provide that numbers, like how much the cover crops has improved the soil health, or what is the economic gain by adoption of soil health, that can attract more people. So at some point, the platform should provide some interactive graphs or data sources, which producers can access, so that help them understand the current practices, what is the benefits or pros and cons of the current practices. So these will summarize, these slides kind of summarize the moving forward regarding the platform. So I wanted to make sure that whatever the documents we are submitting to the platform should have a quality. And at some point, plan is to, after the April, I want to develop a review board, or some people with the experts in the certain fields, so they can, before we submit the answer to the platform, they can review the article, so that there's no issues, or the quality can be maintained. And at some point, we want to give a interactive engagement tools, like producers or people can comment on the section, whatever we put the blog post. Current the crop watch, it's a little difficult. We cannot provide those, but likes, dislikes, or if they want to share what is the relevance to particular individual, and if they want to put some comments, that we want to include in that. And it's kind of like a user feedback also, how they want to see in future, how they want to see the platform to develop. And we also want to explore some funding opportunities or partnership with some agencies, companies, or if in future we want to expand it and develop some other tools also, or integrate some tools with this soil health exchange platforms. And as I told, moving forward, we can initiate some local chapters also, like Nebraska chapters for the soil health exchange, Kansas chapter for the soil health exchange, and we can answer the regionalized or issues or local issues in those places. And then we need to, like every 6 months or quarterly, we'll do some Google Analytics or some other online analytics to find out how much people are engaging with the platforms. And in distant future visions, probably at some point, if we get enough fundings or resources, we can probably come up with an app which can provide, it can go then everyone's hand, and people can put their questions where they are, whatever they are facing, the challenges from the field itself, and it can go to the different people. All the specialists should be connected in the servers, and once the question comes based on their specialization, it can go to all the specialists, and they can answer based on their expertise and experiences. So in a wise word, that a single hand has a limited capacity, but many hands can make the work light. So this is an ambitious project, and I request everyone for their supports, help, and contribution, because together we can mature and grow this platform. And I have, as I discussed, I have couple of initiatives I want to see the platform to develop, like chapter leadership. So I want people from different states or different regions come forward, and they can take the leadership for the chapters for that particular regions, and they can focus and discusses the regional soil health challenges in these regions. And content contribution as one part of the moving forward, one part of the soil health exchange also wants to develop some foundational basic educational materials, like what is less compactions, how compaction can be detrimental, what is soil organic matter, so what is PLFA, how to define it. So that can be developed through the collaboration between experts from different institutes and different research institutes and universities. And at one point, we also need to develop a peer review committee or peer review team, so that we want to make sure that whatever the answers we are publishing to the platform, it should be accurate, that we are not misleading or providing something which can be questionable. And we want to expand the networks so that we can attract different people with different expertise or different domains, so that we can answer the question from different dimensions or different domains. And technology partnerships. So if we want to develop, let's say, mobile app at some point, we want to get some assistance from some tech companies or people who are much more aware or know about how to develop those mobile apps and all. And this platform, one thing is really interesting. This platform can bring or attract people from different domains, and which we can leverage at some point to develop a multi-stage projects and all. And we can approach, federal grant bodies and ask for we can apply for a big grants using the different expertise which are connected or networked through this platform. So currently, really, I want to thank and my heartfelt thanks to all these people who have participated, helped me to grow, and so far, whatever we could answers. And these are the people who are currently actively involved. So on the left side, you can see the soil health specialists. Most of them are from UNL, and these people who helped to run this platform in a seamless manner. And we also have two invited specialists. Patrick gave really nice answers on compaction, the first question we received. And with this, I want to say that, we can adapt as the science and challenges also changes the people are facing, as the user gives them more feedback, and the soil health exchange can become an invaluable tool in the advancement of sustainable agricultures. And with this, I would like to conclude my slide, and thank you. And this is my contact information. So you can reach out to me, whoever interested to participate, and we can collaborate. And this platform, I really wish your collaboration in this platform.
All right, thank you so much, Saurav. I'm really excited about this platform. Obviously, you saw me listed there. So for everybody, do you have any questions for Saurav? If you want to stick those in the chat box, I will go ahead and open up so that if you would like to unmute yourself and ask live, that is absolutely okay. So you have that opportunity now. I also am going to stick the link in the chat box if that's something that you're interested in, you want to bookmark and take a look at later. So any questions for Saurav? I can vouch for it. One of those five questions that have been answered was one that I received from a producer, and I did my best to answer it and then realized, wait a minute, I have this really awesome tool, and I sent it on to Saurav, and we submitted it, and we're able to get some feedback from some additional experts that could help out my producer. So it is something that can be used pretty easily. No questions today. Quiet crowd. All right. So what is the turnaround time usually? Good question, Anne.
So yeah, it's taking 1 month, and we are trying to still improve the turnaround time. Ideally is 2 weeks, but we are still struggling to get a lot of specialists and involved in this platform. And even the specialists have their own classes and other responsibilities, and it becomes at some point, especially when it is summer or class times, it's become a little bit challenging to give. So now it's one month, but we're trying to reduce the time, but sometimes it's become a little bit challenging. That's why I'm asking, if anyone's interested to participate. This is a cool platform, and it will bring a lot of engagement. So anyone interested to participate, you can just send me a mail and we'll include in the group.
Yeah, more experts makes getting
Yeah.
questions answered faster a lot easier. So
Yeah, I totally understand that. I was just curious. I can see that being an issue is just a lot of times folks are like used to having a lot of at their fingertips and wanting that kind of immediate answer.
Yeah.
So Saurav, do you we do have a question, but as I'm thinking about that on the turnaround time, do you let them know that their question has been received and that we're sending it on to other experts? How is that working in the background? I know I was communicating back and forth with my farmer, but how would that work?
So far the question we received, everyone shared their email ID. So once the answer is kind of compiled, we share the answers and we share the link of the soil health exchange also.
So are you so if a producer were to fill out a question, do you reach out to them and say your question has been received, or do they get some sort of an automated response saying that it was received?
So that's a good question. So far we are just sending them that we have received your question, but probably we need to make something like, once they submit, then they should a confirmation mail. Yeah, let me know it down. That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Okay. All right. So Mark is asking an example. He says a soil health comparison. Cropland with seasonal grazing and adjacent cropland doesn't have grazing. How might you assess the need and find the questions?
So Mark, you got a question from the producers on this? I didn't quite.
I'm not understanding exactly what the question is entailing. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, it's not very clear. So I saw this as a great opportunity to assess what producers might be currently challenged with. And well, we've gone through 3 dry years here. And so establishment of cover crops in the fall, and then where they are grazing this land in the spring, and really looking at the soil health benefits with grazing, we'll say cereal rye. And then across the fence, we have a field that doesn't have grazing. How can we come up with a yardstick to show the benefits?
So is this a question that might be proposed in the soil health exchange is what you're getting at? Because I don't know that either of us are experts enough to know the answer to the question itself.
No, I know you don't know the answer. No, I'm not pretending that you would know the answer, but you are assessing the needs of, we'll say, grazers. And of course, as you know, the price of beef right now is pretty attractive, and they're looking for places to graze their cattle, but it's been dry. And if there was an interest in what the benefit is of grazing that land, because that's a soil health benefit, if you graze it, because you have living roots, and then you'll have distributed manure on that land. And then right across the fence, so we'll pretend it's the same soil, and they're not grazing it. How could we try to at least frame up how to ask those questions so that maybe they could get an answer?
Yeah, definitely. We can put this question in soil health exchange, and we can get answer from specialists who are, grazing rangeland specialists. We can get the answers from them. And if they want, I actually put the QR codes on the right sides. If you scan that, it should take you to the question form, and you can also submit the questions. And once you submit the question, it'll come to us, and the people who are involved in the grazing, I can communicate with them, and you can get a proper answers who are more specialized in this field. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the framework. I've trained in rural sociology, so we've looked at a period of when we do needs assessments and really try to engage producers in what their changing information and training needs are. So thank you.
Yeah, and I have to note, I have noted down your name and the question also. Probably I'll send you a mail, and I'll try to send a question to the Soil Health Exchange platform, and we'll try to get you answer.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So not seeing any more questions in the chat box at this point, I think we'll go ahead and we're going to move to the breakouts.